Man. What's going on, y'all, man? It's your boy Big Memphis back with another episode of the Old Man Podcast. Man, today we got my boy
Stain G.
Your boy Big C, the daddy of the city.
DJ Black, what's happening?
Hey, man. Today we got a dope episode planned for y'all. Man, we're going to be talking about the R. Kelly trial, right? He got the Chicago trial coming up on August the 15th. It's already been postponed twice, but as you know, he was already sentenced to 30 years for racketeering and other sex crimes in New York. All right, so we're going to be going over that, man. I got the court transcripts here. We're going to go through some of those. And we're just going to give some opinions about that, man. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned in, lock in, man. Also, I want to talk about something real quick. Alliance Hemp Company, you know, is a sponsor of the podcast, so shout out to them. Now, last week when we was up here filming, I picked up a pack of the gummies. And Big C explicitly warned me not to take those gummies. And guess what my dumb ass did? Went right to the crib and took the whole goddamn pack, right? Ended up high off my ass, bro. I mean, hallucinating, seeing shit, hearing shit. And Big C definitely warned me. I'm a firsthand, I can speak to a firsthand account. Alliance Hemp Company is fire. Do you hear me? So y'all make sure y'all go to alliancehempco.com and bare minimum get what I had. I had 100 milligrams of THC and it knocked me on my ass. And I'm a big dude, man. For those of you that's watching right now, y'all probably can see I'm a very sizey man. Used to play professional football, so I'm not a small guy. And it knocked me on my ass. It took me 2.5 days to come down. 2.5 days.
No, oh man.
So shout out to the Alliance Hemp Company, man. Thank
That was
y'all.
a 2-pack gummy.
Right.
Delta 8.
Delta 8, yes. So, man, thank you for sponsoring the podcast, and thank you for a dope-ass experience for 2.5 damn days. Yeah.
Super trip.
Right, super trip. But back to the subject at hand, man. The R. Kelly trial. So, like I said, he got the Chicago trial scheduled for August the 15th, right? And he was sentenced to 30 years in New York for racketeering and other things. I had a person who sent me the transcripts from the New York, case, and I thought it'd be pretty cool for us to go over it, especially one part in particular, and that's the details about what happened with the Aaliyah marriage, right?
Ooh.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people know that R. Kelly married Aaliyah, but they don't know the details of how it happened.
Right.
And it's spelled out right here in these court papers. It's a lot. That's about 1,500 pages, and I've read through all of it.
Dang.
But I just thought it was real interesting to hear the details behind how that marriage happened to that 15-year-old girl.
But do you think he did it? After reading all that?
Bro.
What's your perspective?
Okay, so we was on Clubhouse, right? And we had a young lady come into the room, and she was talking about how the prosecutors in New York didn't prove their case and all this different kind of stuff, right? And I was like, okay, I'm listening to her. But then when I get these court documents, the prosecutors did an excellent job. Yeah. R. Kelly lawyer was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. I was actually reading part of the paperwork on Clubhouse Live, and I got people in the room. Some of them are in, the legal world.
Right.
Was like, why come his lawyer didn't object there? And I'm saying the same thing, like, why come he didn't object? Why he didn't say this? Why he didn't do that? And even on cross-examination, man, he asked 2-3 questions and be done. And it's like, you know what I mean? Damn, it looked like he got railroaded. Now, to answer your question, do I think he did it? I do. I don't think he did everything he's accused of, but I think he did a lot of it.
A lot of this shit.
Yeah, I think he did a lot of it.
Everybody said he did it. Oh my!
Yeah, I mean, what you think he did it? You think he had?
I don't think he did. I can't put that out there. I don't know. I don't think he did everything. But we seen what he did. Some of the stuff he did. With some footage. It is what it is. But
right. What about you, DJ Black?
I mean, the paperwork don't lie, right?
Man. And this
So
paperwork
I
is
want the
crazy.
facts. I've seen a lot and heard a lot, but you got facts, so I kind of want to know what the facts are.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into it now.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into it. What about you, Big C? What you think, man?
I don't know. I mean, okay, I do believe he done at least one time to mess with somebody underage. I do believe that at least one time. Cause like he got a hell of a clone when he pitched on that girl.
Oh yeah.
That was just yeah.
I could tell you a story about a young man who got caught with that tape in school.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Name
Big Memphis.
Big Memphis.
So listen, the tape came out my junior year of high school, man, and my best friend quarterback, quarterback of our football team, he had the tape in his backpack. And so I'm begging him to let me take it home and watch it. Keep in mind, I'm a minor at the time now too, right? So this ain't a grown up watching child porn.
Right.
So I'm gonna need y'all to chill out there. But yeah, I was 16 at the time, and I'm like, man, let me see the tape. Let me see the tape. He like, nah, man, you gonna take it home? I ain't gonna never get it back. I said, okay, well let me find somewhere to
They
watch
was
it in
selling
school.
the tape, too.
Oh yeah, they was
They
boom.
was selling them back then. I
$10,
remember
$15 a pop.
Yeah.
And so I took the little, you know how you got the big TVs used to roll in the classroom. I rolled one of those.
Year 2000 wasn't it?
2001.
2001,
2001,
yeah.
2001, somewhere
Yeah.
up in there. And I rolled one of them big motherfuckers in the closet, boy, and went in that bitch and popped that tape in. And my teacher caught me watching the R. Kelly sex tape. She walked in and said, "Oh my God!"
What part were they on?
It was on the
Pissing was probably.
it wasn't the pissing part. It was the part where they was in the I think he called it the Colorado room.
Yeah,
The
wood,
big
the
wood,
cabin,
yeah, the big
cabin room.
wood
Yeah.
room where he was laying in the floor and the girl was, basically, I don't know no polite way to say this, riding his face.
Oh, was?
Oh yeah. There's a couple different scenes in there, Big C. It was interesting. Now that I believe that scene was two grown-ups though. I believe that was two grown-ups, and then supposedly the minors on that tape was the first scene and the last scene. Was two different minors.
I mean, one of them, boy, he was eating so much booty hole.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm like, God, I think he go OD.
I think that was Chris Rock said he was eating her ass like he had diabetes. And the insulin,
Try to get the sugar.
insulin was in her ass.
Hey, I got an interesting thing about R. Kelly.
What's that?
That was the first promotion job I had.
For real?
Was
in the
with
music
Robert.
business. Yeah.
Get the fuck
All right,
out of here,
so
bro.
my brother used to work at the radio station here.
Okay.
He said, "Hey man, R. Kelly them in town. I gotta take them around. You want to go with me?" I said, "Yeah, for sure."
Yeah.
So we go to start going to the malls. So we went to Mall of Memphis first,
Yeah.
because Mall of Memphis down the street from K97.
I missed the Mall of Memphis, man.
Mall of Memphis was it, had the skating rink in it.
R.I.P. the Mall of Memphis.
R.I.P. Now it's the Tag Truck Center, I think.
Man, it used to be one of the best malls in
Yes,
the
sir.
area. Man.
Yeah, merry-go-round. Shouts out to what was the other?
The ice rink.
Yeah, Oak Tree. Yeah, all them stores back in the day with that junk. So,
Facts.
Sabaro's Pizza. So, we going through the mall, and this was when, this was when he was with Public Announcement.
Yeah.
So, he didn't, this one, you got
Bald
that
Bye.
vibe.
Bye.
He made bald head look cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I saved mine at 18, I think.
Just trying to get on
Trying
that
to
too.
get like
I
R.
did
Kelly,
it after the
Tupac.
fact. Count that little. No, I had the Aaron Hall thing.
Yeah,
first
yeah,
with the
yeah,
fade
yeah,
junk.
yeah.
So I kept it popping. Then I eventually did that murder one.
Yeah.
All right. So
I can't stand you niggas with full head of hair, man. I can't stand them.
I got straight chemo. So Kales go and we going through the mall. So we go to the Foot Locker. And I remember him picking up a pair of Jordans. He was like, "Damn, these just $100." And see him put them. I'm like, "Man, these niggas ain't got no money."
He wasn't caked up off of vibe.
No.
What?
The song was hidden and missing. So they on the promo tour.
Yeah.
It's
So
probably
it-
like his
he-
first deal too. So he probably
It was the
didn't
first
get
deal.
on
The public announcement deal, yeah. So it was the first deal. Definitely had Honey Love on there, and
Yeah.
he had some joints on that joint though, for real. They had a good, solid first album. So they like, man, we need to. I said, I'm gonna go to the record store. He said, yeah, go to the record store. So of course they don't know where nothing is. So I'm going through that. I said, man, you want to go in there and sing? He said, man, we can let's sell some records today.
Right.
He's like, how can we sell some records? I said, stay out here. I got something in mind. So I go into the record store, Coconuts. So I go into the record store, and I go there. I'm like, y'all got that public announcement, the RKL public announcement? They're like, yeah, it's over there. So they, they ain't trying to push
They
it
ain't excited.
in the store. It ain't nothing that nobody really coming looking for.
Yeah.
So I go into the store, pick up the album. I'm like, they just selling? They like, well, nah. I said, I know dude. They like, for real? I'm like, yeah, I can get him to come here and sing. Him? I'm like, yeah. I said, hold on. So I go out the store. Go out there and tell them, come on in. So they come in, they like, damn, that is him. So they look at the album. So he sits on the counter. He get up on the counter, so he's singing. Starts singing live in the store. Sound just like they like, damn, that is it. Oh my God. So then the girls started coming to the store. When they came in the store, people started coming. He was doing this. He and that. They sold every cassette, every album in the store.
I know they did, bro.
Right.
Then we go to the next record store. Do it again. Same thing. Went to it was like 3 record stores that was in the Pop Tunes, I think. Was it Pop Tunes?
I remember Pop Tunes.
Yeah. So we go to all the record stores in the mall, sell out the whole mall. By this time, the whole mall chasing him.
Right.
Police like, y'all gotta go.
Yeah.
So he's getting mobbed. We getting mobbed, and they So I'm like, yeah. I do the promotion for him. So wait, I stay here for real. So I'm trying to catch a gal on the low. So a nigga try to get in any way they can, right?
Especially at that age too.
Yeah. So I was.
So you
19.
telling us that you're the one that started R. Kelly liking young girls? That's what you're talking
No.
Don't you put that on Big
I'm
C.
sorry. It's Big C fault.
Don't you put that on Big C.
Oh, it ain't my fault.
Hey,
I ain't had nothing to do with
He
that.
taught R. Kelly how to promote to young girls. Good job.
No. to buyers of records. So we go to the next mall, do the same thing. We go to the next mall, do the same thing. So at the same time, because he got a show that night.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this is also, then they give me a stack of free tickets.
Yeah.
They give me free tickets with it, because they get free promo tickets. So I had tickets. I'm giving a couple tickets out to the night. Like, yeah, I'm going to be there tonight, baby. Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you get backstage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I done took over a whole position. Yeah. So they fell back, like, let them do whatever they're going to do.
Right.
So we go to the Raleigh Mall, we go to Southland Mall, we go to the Pop Tune store, we go to, we never had a Tower Records, but we had something like a Tower Records.
We had Turtles, didn't we?
I think we had the Turtles. I think we had Turtles.
Yeah.
We had Cats.
Cats.
Cats Records. Yeah, we had Cats Records.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of money with Cats Records. So, and we go to Cats Records. So we go to all the stores in there. So it ain't no, they ain't got no money. You know what I'm saying? So we go to eat. We go to Wendy's.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they on per diem.
Right.
So you first coming out, you ain't got they got you on a per diem. But like now it's different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So. But that night they did a show downtown. It sold out or whatever. So they like, man, we need you to go with us. I'm like, man, I gotta go to work tomorrow, bro. You know what I'm saying? Mama had co-signed for me with that damn escort I had.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can get that car note paid. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't no missing days off from work.
Right.
But the fact that's when I knew. I said, boy, you got a slick little gift right here.
Yeah, you smart. You a smart dude.
Right.
You a smart dude. You know how to
Appreciate
put yourself in position to get paid.
So I went head on, and I had got that information or whatever. So I told them, if there's some cities around or whatever, I can get out there to, I go ahead and do it. So that's when I got my little bug in the music. I'm like, man, this ain't nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I just thought of that on the fly. But the whole, like, people don't know how sound scans work. Once you start selling records, and you sell out at every record store in Memphis,
and they get somebody attention.
Right.
Yeah, so they call them the labor head.
Right.
So they call them the labor head people. So then they like, man, this right here is boom, 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 boom. But that was my little incident, with
First little introduction to promotion.
Marketing.
So when he came back, when he left public announcement or whatever, nobody couldn't even give me a close to him or nothing, because he was at that point.
He had to move up.
Right.
So that's probably around the time where this story kind of kicked off. So to kind of update y'all, or not even update, to put y'all up on game of what allegedly happened, right? So allegedly, he was in Orlando, Florida, with his road manager / driver. And they were at a show down in Florida with a man named Demetrius Smith. And before R. Kelly goes on stage to do the show, which I think it was like a 3 days, and he had like a couple shows each night. So on the first day, before he goes on stage, he goes and tells Demetrius Smith, "Hey, we got to get back to Chicago. Something's going on with Aaliyah." And then he goes on to the show. So while he's doing the show, Demetrius is, running around trying to figure out how they're going to get back to Chicago, booking flights and all that stuff, not really even knowing why they got to go back. So he says, this is from Demetrius Smith's testimony. This is his testimony in court.
Okay.
That after R. Kelly got off the stage, they then head out to the airport, and then when they get on the plane, it's the first time that he hear why they're heading back to Chicago for Aaliyah, and it's because she's suspected to be pregnant, right? So this at the time, R. Kelly's manager was Barry Hankerson, which was Aaliyah's uncle. So that's how the introduction happened to Aaliyah in the first place. Barry Hankerson hit R. Kelly up like, "Hey, I got my niece. I think she's got some talent." According to Demetrius Smith, him and R. Kelly both went to Detroit at that point, and to personally meet Aaliyah. They drove up to personally meet Aaliyah and her family. She sung for R. Kelly like in the living room. He liked it, thought she had something, and immediately started writing songs for her. And then they started dating and fooling around, and then she got pregnant, which is why he supposedly married her, to protect himself from getting her minor pregnant, that if she his wife, then she can't testify against him and all this type of stuff, right? But I'm actually about to get into the actual court documents. So what I'm about to read is from the closing arguments of the New York trial for the prosecutor, okay? This is dealing with count 1, the racketeering, count 1. And so there's 5 different elements to count 1, and the one that's containing Aaliyah is the 5th and final element. So I'm going to start there, all right? So this is the words of the prosecutor. These are the actual transcripts from the court. This is the words of the prosecutor.
Still, everything we saying is allegedly for entertainment purpose, though.
And so, yeah, but these are the actual words of the prosecutor. So if somebody get in trouble for it, it ain't us.
Right.
Because this is the prosecutor. This is on court. This is the court stenographer. These are the court documents. Okay, so it reads, and that brings us to the 5th and final element of racketeering. The defendant's participation in a pattern of racketeering, and in order to find that the defendant participated in the pattern of racketeering activity, you have to find that he committed 2 of the 14 racketeering acts that are alleged in this case. And as we go through evidence this afternoon, you will see that for each racketeering act, the defendant either committed the act itself or commanded it. He had another person make it happen. And under the law, even if you don't personally commit a crime, if you command it or you help it in some respect with the intent of making it happen, then that's the same as committing it yourself. Now, you have to unanimously agree on the particular facts of any of those racketeering acts. And you have to find that the last act that was committed was within 10 years of the prior act. And I submit that you are going to find that all of the 14 racketeering acts have been proven, not just 2. You also have to find that those racketeering acts have a nexus. That just means that they're connected to the enterprise and are related. And we'll talk about those requirements as to each of the racketeering acts when you go through them in depth. But both requirements are easily met in this case because the defendant was also able to meet the acts because of his position as a leader in the enterprise. And because of the defendant's position in the enterprise that helped him commit these acts, he committed. Let's move that in. There we go. And so either of those 2 factors would satisfy those requirements, and we've talked about that already. Now, finally, you have to find that the racketeering acts occurred over a substantial period of time, and that there was the threat of continued criminal activity. And I don't think that there can be a dispute about that. The racketeering acts in this case have been spanned more than 2 decades, more than 25 years, and there was no sign that the defendant or his inner circle had any intention of stopping. So what they're talking about racketeering is the fact.
Explain to us what racketeering is.
Yeah, okay. So in this case, what they're talking about the racketeering is how which we're going to get to that part in a minute, but basically how he allegedly bribed government officials to get Aaliyah a fake ID in order to marry her. Right. So that's what this is spelling out, and it's about to get to the basically the meat of it. So he just setting up what he's about to talk to them about, right? So here we go. One last note before we start talking about individual racketeering acts. While the government has to and embraces proving the existence of the enterprise and all of the other elements that I described, it does not need to prove that the enterprise itself or its members acted with criminal intent. Although some certainly, as I explained, did. But the government just has to establish that the defendant, Robert Kelly, that he acted with the required criminal intent. And you know that he did over and over again. The defendant relied on his inner circle, the enterprise, to carry out his pattern of crimes. And his inner circle, those individuals, they were a means to his criminal ends. I want to turn now to Racketeering Act number 1. This Racketeering Act is the bribe of the defendant, Demetrius Smith, had to pay to an employee of the Illinois Department of Public Aid to obtain a fake ID for the 15-year-old Aaliyah. So the defendant, who was 27 years old, could marry her. Now, before I go over the evidence proving that the defendant had Demetrius, yeah, he was 27, she was 15. Damn. So yeah, that's basically what the fifth element of count 1 is dealing with is him bribing government officials to get a fake ID, which he bribed them with $500. We're about to get to that.
500.
500. That's it. That's what the going rate is.
Okay.
To marry a minor.
Damn.
What Aaliyah's first album was named? Age Ain't Number
But a number. Yep. So here we go. So now, before I go over the evidence proving that the defendant had Demetrius Smith pay that bribe, I want to back up and talk to you about the defendant's sexual abuse of Aaliyah, beginning when she was in her early teens. Now, the defendant is not charged in a separate racketeering act with sexual abuse of Aaliyah, but as you've now seen during the course of this trial, that abuse was a part of the defendant's pattern of racketeering, and it's an important background for you to understand what led the defendant to causing Demetrius Smith to pay the bribe that allowed him to marry Aaliyah by fraud. You learn about the defendant's sexual abuse of Aaliyah from Angela, Demetrius Smith, and Jane. These are all people who testified in the trial. I'm going to talk first about what Angela told you, and there's a photo of Angela on the screen. Angela, she testified in last week of the trial, so relatively recently, and she told you that she met the defendant when she was 14 or 15 years old, that she met him through her friend Tiffany, and starting from the very first day that Angela met the defendant, and for the next few years, the defendant had sex with her and with her young friends. So this is another girl. This is not even Aaliyah yet. This is another 15-year-old girl. She was 14 or 15 when she met R. Kelly. She met her through her friend Tiffany and said from the very first day that she met him, she had sex with him, and he was also having sex with a bunch of her young friends as well. She crazy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hold on. So they say Aaliyah the first day he met her?
No, this is another girl. This is a girl named Angela. So this is Angela just so happened to be able to testify on some of the elements of Aaliyah to be able to prove that he also was having, basically sexually abusing Aaliyah as well. So there's that's her testimony. But basically she said from the first day that she met him at 14, 15 years old, that
She was
they was already sleeping together. Not only with her, but with some of her friends. Yeah. And so it says, and starting from that very first day that Angela met the defendant, and for the next few years, the defendant had sex with her and with her young friends. At the defendant's direction, Angela quit school and started to sing and eventually worked as a backup singer, dancer for the defendant. All right, so she quit school to go work for him.
So this is not Aaliyah. This
This
is
not Aaliyah yet. Yep, this is somebody else.
Yeah.
Who's testifying to parts of Aaliyah because she was around for that.
Right.
She was around for that. And the defendant asked Angela to bring other girls around. As Angela testified, the defendant told her, quote, "Get me some girls or bring me some new talent," he called it. And you knew what the defendant meant by that. Who does a teenager like Angela know and hang out with? Other teenagers. And Angela told you during her testimony that was exactly how she met the defendant, through another teenager at her high school. A high school teenager named Tiffany, who had invited Angela to meet the defendant at his apartment and some other young girls. This was a part of the defendant's grooming process. It was one of the ways that he continued to have access to young girls and use young teens that he had abused or later abused to bring him other teens that he could then abuse. It's like a cycle. That's all it is, a damn cycle.
Yeah.
And as you heard during the trial, and we'll discuss later, it was one of the methods that he continued to use throughout the period charged in the indictment. Now we're going to speak more about Demetrius Smith in a moment, but you heard from Smith about how the defendant's manager, I think this part is redacted because it's like blanked out. I've told you that the defendant's employees changed over the decades, that he was running this enterprise, but back in the early 90s, his manager was Barry Hankerson. And Smith told you how Hankerson introduced the defendant to Aaliyah at her home in Detroit in approximately 1992. Now, if you want to read a funny document, go read Demetrius Smith's testimony in this trial. He was the most difficult person on the stand I've ever seen.
For real.
Oh my God, they got so frustrated with him. The judge had to like put him in his place like probably 15 different times. They got so frustrated with him because he just was rambling on. He wasn't answering questions thoroughly.
Yeah.
He's being difficult. He's going back on his word. You know, they almost had to hit him with what's it called when you lie in court?
Perjury.
Perjury. Yeah, almost had to hit him with perjury because he kept telling different stories basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to the court documents. And you can see from her birth certificate, this is Aaliyah's birth certificate, so they show a physical copy of the birth certificate, which is in evidence as Government Exhibit 802. In 1992, Aaliyah would have been about 13 years old. Ooh. And Smith testified, and by the way, at the same time, you can see that the defendant in Government Exhibit, he was 25 years old. Aaliyah's birth certificate is, so they had to correct it. It's Government Exhibit 802, and R. Kelly's is 801. So at the time, R. Kelly was 12 years older than her. I think, 13 to 25, 12 years older than her. Dang. So during her testimony, Angela told you, then it says, I'm sorry, let me back up. So when they first met in Detroit at the family home, Smith told you that the defendant began writing and producing music for the young Aaliyah and that she would come to Chicago to record with the defendant. And during her testimony, Angela told you that the defendant introduced Aaliyah to Angela and her friends on or around Aaliyah's birthday in January of 1992. And you can see from her birth certificate, that's when she would have been 13 years old. The defendant told Aaliyah that he wanted Angela, who was a couple of years older, he wanted Angela and her friends to become Aaliyah's friends. She testified that, do you recall whether the defendant said anything else to Aaliyah about the three of you, referring to Angela, her friend Tiffany, and another friend? So some of this is like redacted. Some of this is taken out. So it may kind of sound a little spotty, but you kind of get the overall picture. She answered, he told her that we were going to give her some street vibes and we were going to be there to be her friends. That's in the transcripts at 3295. And it worked. You have heard defense witness Larry Hood testify and describe Angela as one of Aaliyah's little friends. That's in the transcript at 4043. So it looks like based on this, R. Kelly brought Aaliyah in, which it sounds like it's all a part of his grooming process, right? So he got this group of girls that at least one of them, he convinced to drop out of school.
Right.
He convinced her to come sing for him as a backup singer. He was allegedly abusing her, sexually abusing her friends. Then he got this other girl that he wants to start sexually abusing. So he say, hey, look, let me go and put you over here with these girls. You become friends with them, right? Something that they already used to.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? A part of his grooming process, you bring her over here with them. Now, everybody's used to getting sexually abused. You know what I mean? It becomes more and more common. Once something is normalized, it's easier to do. You know what I mean?
Right. How they having sex with grown men at that age?
I mean,
man. Okay, so first of all, you went to high school, right? So how many grown men did you see pick up girls at the end of the day when you was getting ready to get out of school? I did too, but there was a line of cars alongside, and sometimes them girls would be jumping some of them cars, and they wasn't their parents or uncles or none of that type stuff. You see what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah.
They'll keep it on the hush then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's funny that because The court documents is actually just about to say what I just said. And after the defendant had access to Aaliyah and he surrounded her with teens that he had already been abusing, like Angela, the defendant eventually sexually abused Aaliyah too. Angela told you about how on one night while they were traveling on tour in 1992 or 1993 with the defendant at the tour stop in Washington, D.C., the defendant became angry with Angela and Aaliyah and her friends because they disobeyed his instructions to stay at the hotel, and the defendant approached a group of girls, including Aaliyah, and said to them that they had to put out that night. Angela told you what the defendant meant by put out. She was, she is kind of funky there. Dues time, and she told you what, so she was explaining what it meant by dues time to pay your dues. When the defendant told you you had to pay dues, that means he wants to have sexual contact or sexual intercourse with you. Now, she avoided it that day, but the pattern was there. Angela also told you that during the same tour, while they were young kids, while they were trying to play a prank aboard a tour bus, she walked in on the defendant and saw his head between Aaliyah's legs, performing oral sex on Aaliyah, and Aaliyah was just 13 or 14 at that time. You also learned that the defendant's sexual abuse of Aaliyah from Demetrius Smith. Now remember, Demetrius did not want to testify at this trial. He certainly didn't want to testify against the defendant. He described him as being like a brother to him. He didn't want to testify about the defendant and Aaliyah, and as you heard, the government had to serve him with a subpoena and then an immunity order to get him to tell what he knew. Even then, he tried to resist directly answering my colleague's questions, but even he admitted, based on the interactions that he saw between the defendant and young Aaliyah, he suspected the defendant was messing with Aaliyah, quote unquote. That's in the transcript at 690.
So is that snitching?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, all right.
Definitely. So this the guy. This
That's a cold question.
I'm just saying, bro. I just want the black community to draw the line at some point.
On
Be
snitch.
like,
Yeah,
on
they gotta
snitching.
draw the line
Yeah,
on
like
snitching.
if a 27-year-old is smashing a 14-year-old, let's just go on tell it. How about that?
Hell yeah. And then, like, here's the thing. I don't care if you reluctantly tell on me.
Yeah.
If you're told, you're
It's
still told.
it's still told.
I don't care if it's like pulling teeth.
I really didn't want to snitch on you, brother.
Yeah, man, he stole the chicken. Like,
Oh.
you still snitch. Right. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, he snitched. Now, he gave them a hard time. I read the transcripts, and he pissed them off.
Yeah.
The whole court.
Yeah.
He pissed me off reading the shit. But he snitched, you know what I mean? And he was R. Kelly's right-hand man for some years, you know what I mean?
This is the only problem, and I know it's kind of early because I know we're getting into the meat of what's going on. But I Googled Detroit to Chicago. It is 4 hours and 28 minutes. Now, I raised my daughter. I was a single father.
Okay.
Ain't no way in hell that if Chris Brown showed up at my door and my daughter was 14, that I would let her go on the road with Chris Brown. I don't
She
care.
can run and run.
Without me,
Right.
there ain't gonna be no chance that Chris Brown gonna be able to do anything to my daughter because I'm gonna be right there in the recording studio. I'm gonna be everywhere that my daughter is because ain't no way I'm gonna send my daughter off with any of these R&B stars, rap stars, any Chief Keef, any of these people. Big Boogie, I love these people, but ain't no way that I would send my daughter off talking about.
around.
So you say you gonna let Cheeky give her a long pipe
Never.
Ever.
all night?
Listen.
So I have a real problem with the parents that say,
Yeah.
okay,
That's what
yes,
pissed me off in this trial.
Yeah, Aaliyah, go with R. Kelly 4 hours and 28 minutes away from me in Chicago to record without me.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
And then this what pissed me off too, Black, is the fact that so many people that were complicit in these crimes
Yeah.
got immunity.
Scot-free.
Got out scot-free. Demetrius Smith in particular.
Yeah.
Because you'll hear in his testimony that he booked a lot of the flights.
Right.
He reserved a lot of the hotels.
Yeah.
He went and got a lot of the girls.
He didn't get no time.
He was, hell no. He was the front line.
See, that's like
He was the primary recruiter.
that's like El Chapo, right? If I help you sell dope and I snitch against you, I still was selling dope. I was still complicit. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Ain't gonna get no time for snitching.
That's
though.
crazy.
That's crazy to me. See, if R. Kelly was Bill Belichick, Demetrius Smith was Tom Brady.
You see what I'm saying?
He was running the plays.
That's crazy.
and he got off scot free.
But see, they wanted that name. They wanted R. Kelly name.
Right.
That's what was most important to him.
Right.
And it gets like you're hearing these court documents that it gets to the point where they break down exactly how, with the bribe and everything, how everything happened. They had to actually get her more than one form of ID, because the one that they got was it wasn't like a state ID, it wasn't like a driver's license or identification card. It was like something else, like a benefits card, like if you on government assistance. And so they got her that. Then they
Got
had
an
to go-
EBT card since she was
Right.
21.
Gang.
And then what's even funnier? You know what other form of ID they went and got her? A work ID from FedEx. From FedEx.
Oh, now they
Work
put
ID from FedEx.
Fred Smith in on it.
Oh.
Golly. It's fucking
Overnight the pussy.
So yeah, I'm about to hear. We about to get there. So here we go. He
With it
said,
absolutely positively get but
"Boy, y'all are crazy."
Overnight the pussy.
see now y'all got me. See, hold on. I'll tell you something about Black, man. Black and have me on my. He give me on my city though. You know what I'm saying? So me and Black, we'll check and just run it out there. Just go reset the room before you kick back in that joint.
Say,
Go reset the room.
reset. You talking about this ain't Clubhouse?
Oh, my fault.
Hey, but it is a good opportunity to give a shout out to the sponsor again,
sure.
man. Alliance Hemp Company, who had me toasted out of my mind this past weekend for 2.5 days.
You want to get high fast, get knocked on your ass? Get you some of them Delta 8 gummies Big Memphis had.
So you said you was seeing stuff. What did you see? I want to know,
Bro,
I want to
so
know
first of all,
because I ain't gonna never take two. So I want to know what it's like.
okay, first of all, I got up. Okay, this was the main thing. I got up to go to the bathroom, right? And immediately after using the bathroom, I couldn't remember if I had used the bathroom or not. Right? So I go lay back down in the bed and I'm like, I think I gotta use the bathroom, but I think I just used it. But did I really use it? Like, this is what's going on in my head. So I get up to go to the bathroom again. And by that time, like the second time that I realized I went to the bathroom in my mind, I kind of thought,
You got a mental piss?
no, listen, I don't know. That's the crazy part. See, I don't know still. I don't know. So I said to myself, I feel like I done peed like 7 or 8 times. So I had the empty gummy packet sitting on the counter.
And
I
a
said,
weak bladder.
Right. I said, this going to be my evidence right here. Okay, I'm going to grab this empty packet. I'm going to put it on the nightstand. And that way, if I wake up again and have to go pee, if I know if that packet is on the nightstand that I already been to the bathroom.
Right.
So I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
So I take the empty packet, I put it on the nightstand. So then I wake up and I'm like, damn, I got to pee. Wait a minute. Empty packet on the nightstand. So I find it on the nightstand. But then my mind go, well, did I really put this here?
Oh man.
Give me 2 of these, motherfuckers.
Or was it already here? Like, did I really put this here?
This might be the last episode of the whole main podcast. Christine, you trying to die too.
We definitely gonna lose the sponsor.
And then I'm a firm believer in like pineal gland and your third eye and all that.
Right.
Bro, the middle of my head where your pineal gland is
Yeah.
was hot and tingling
Oh shit.
the whole time. So it
The
really
eye was about to open.
it was wide ass open.
Wide ass open.
That motherfucker was cockeyed. But I'm telling you, it's hard to even explain. Bro, I was seeing people sitting on the bed. So I got up to go to the bathroom and I'm in the room by myself.
Yeah.
I see a motherfucker sitting on the bed. I see a girl sitting on the bed. And I turn back and I look at her and I wave at her. And then I turn back and go to the bathroom, like look at the bathroom door and look back around. And the bitch on the other side of the room now.
Oh man.
Waving still. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on, bro? I'm blinking real hard and shit. I literally was high off my ass. I'm like, that fucking bitch.
I took a Benadryl last night and dreamed that I had an interview with Rick Ross. So I can only imagine what these gummies do to you.
Dude. And I took, to be clear about what I took, so didn't nobody give me no fucking instructions on how to take this shit.
I did.
You told me not to take it
Not to
here.
Here and not to take 2.
But so basically you're supposed to take about a half of one, even less than that.
Yeah.
I took 2, which is 100 milligrams of THC. They 50 milligrams each. And I don't smoke. I smoked weed less than 5 times in my whole life.
Oh man.
Big Six called you last week a dead Kung Fu Panda bear.
Yeah, he said I look like Kung Fu Panda. Big Six can kiss my ass. And to hell with you for bringing that up,
Oh God.
Big C. But we're going to get back to the topic at hand, right? So now we're going to be back to these court documents. So starting back where I left off, he told you what he meant by messing around, that based on what he could see, he was concerned that the defendant was being flirtatious, seducing her. Now he's talking about Aaliyah. He told you that he was concerned because Aaliyah was young and the defendant's behavior concerned him enough that he asked him about it more than once because it was concerning. And at the time, Aaliyah was barely a teenager, too young, far too young to consent to sexual conduct with the defendant. Now let's fast forward to August of 1994. You heard from Mr. Smith that he was then in 1994 serving as the defendant's tour manager, and that the defendant was performing at a venue in the South when the defendant told Smith that they needed to return to Chicago that night, and he told him that Aaliyah was in trouble, quote unquote trouble. It was in the defendant's schedule to go to Chicago. It wasn't in the defendant's schedule, to go to Chicago. He had other performances that he had to do, but the defendant told Smith to book some tickets, some plane tickets for him and another member of the defendant's inner circle at the time, Tyree, because they needed to get back to Chicago. Right. As you heard from Smith, it was on that plane ride back to Chicago where Smith saw the defendant concerned, crying a lot, and he told Smith what he meant when he said earlier that Aaliyah was in trouble. The defendant told Smith that Aaliyah believed that she was pregnant. And the defendant was obviously concerned, and you know why he was concerned? The defendant was concerned because he knew Aaliyah at a young age. He believed that she was pregnant and that the baby was his, and that the defendant knew if anyone found out, her being a minor and him being nearly 2 times her age, he was facing some serious trouble. Again, so here his concern wasn't even her. His concern was himself.
Right.
He wasn't thinking about her. Yeah, he wasn't thinking about her. He's thinking about himself.
Right.
Again, here are the defendants and Aaliyah's birth certificates as evidence. You can see in August of 1994, Aaliyah was just 15 years old and the defendant was 27. And you know that the defendant knew exactly how old Aaliyah was. The year before, in March of 1993, the network BET released a video clip featuring the defendant talking about Aaliyah, and in that clip, and I'll play it for you in just a moment, you hear the defendant say that Aaliyah was just 14 years old at the time. This is in evidence as Government Exhibit 901. Shout out 901. There we go, Memphis, Tennessee. Right. And let me see if our audio will work. So he plays this audio where they did that interview on BET, and I remember seeing that interview. Demetrius also told the defendant's solution that night to Aaliyah being, in the defendant's words, in trouble. The defendant decided that he would marry her. He needed to marry Aaliyah to protect himself, right? His interest is him, not her. And remember, when my colleague asked Smith what the defendant needed to do to protect himself from from jail, it's in transcript 706 to 07. I think that part is redacted because it's missing from here. In addition to Demetrius Smith's testimony about why the defendant was so desperate to marry Aaliyah, you also know what happened that day in August of 1994, or that month in August of 1994, because the defendant told Jane, another teenager, that the defendant seduced nearly 2 decades later, who testified powerfully, I submit, during the second week of the trial. On the screen is a photo of Jane, and I'll talk much more about her testimony, but for now, remember that Jane told you, or when Jane told you that one afternoon, the defendant, and at the time, Jane was one of the defendant's live-in girlfriends. She told you that the defendant told her and his other live-in girlfriends what happened decades earlier with Aaliyah. The defendant told Jane, and she told you, that he had married Aaliyah when she was 15 years old because she was pregnant, and he had to marry her to make sure that Aaliyah got an abortion. And we all know that the defendant was thinking, no baby, no jail. Right. He believed that was his way of getting away with the sexual abuse of Aaliyah. So at this point, R. Kelly's lawyer objects, finally, right? Think about that. Everything that I just word, went straight through. That's his lawyer's first time objecting. Wow. Right? Whether he's guilty or not, do your fucking job. Yeah. Right.
But
Jesus.
He had 3 gals at this time, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you mean during the time of this trial? Yeah. I think he still had 2. I think he had 2, the 2 that he did the interview with on Gail it was Gayle King.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had those 2 girls.
Question though, like, what was there to object prior to that statement? Because everything else.
I mean, but okay, so even before now, right? The part that I just read about saying Jane told you that R. Kelly told her.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's hearsay.
That's hearsay.
Yeah, that is
Object to
hearsay.
that.
Right.
I mean, there's plenty of stuff he could have, but even, I mean, object to any damn thing.
Right, do something.
Everything that I just read, that was his first time objecting. Now, chances are your objection gonna be overruled, but damn.
I listened to the story like we listened to the
Right,
story.
he was like, damn.
Shocked.
Right.
Damn, Robert.
Right. You know how Johnny Cochran won the O.J. Simpson trial?
Timmy did all that shit, bro.
You know what his plan was in the O.J. Simpson trial?
What's that?
Object to everything.
Just object to everything.
That was his plan. Fuck it, if we get overruled,
Right.
I'm just gonna make it as hard as possible for them.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. But, I mean, I digress. This objection was overruled, and then the prosecutor continues, and he says, and this makes sense, ladies and gentlemen, you heard Demetrius Smith's account of how the defendant reacted when he heard that Aaliyah believed she was pregnant, and he said, and it's entirely consistent, that reaction, because you saw how the defendant then reacted decades later in October of 2015 when Jane was 17 years old. She told the defendant that she believed she was pregnant, and the defendant told Jane that she couldn't have the baby because, like Aaliyah in August of 1994, Jane was still a minor, just 17 years old. Just as he believed in August of 1994 when he learned that the 15-year-old Aaliyah thought she was pregnant, the defendant believed that he would be in trouble if anyone learned that he impregnated Jane. You saw Jane's text messages, and I want to talk more about this later, but you saw Jane's text messages with one of her close friends who testified in trial where she told her friend that the defendant was going to let her keep the baby, and that he told her that she had to, that he wasn't going to let her keep the baby, and that he told her that she had to get an abortion.
Oh no, who's another girl got pregnant?
Yeah, this is Jane. This is another minor. This is in 2015. So this 20 years after Aaliyah's pregnancy.
For real?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Made that phone call. I missed that part.
We getting a little feedback too from somewhere. But yeah, so yeah, that's another girl. That's another young lady who's
This is 20 years later.
This is in 2015. Aaliyah's pregnancy was in 1994.
Ooh.
It's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah,
I mean, when you really think about all the details that's going on here.
Let's stop for a minute.
Go ahead.
So, bring it up to date.
Mm-hmm.
Aaliyah's uncle was his tour manager, driver,
Was his manager?
assistant.
No,
His manager.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a different person.
Okay.
So Barry Hankerson was his manager,
Correct.
and he was Aaliyah's uncle. His tour manager was Demetrius Smith.
Okay.
Yeah,
And Hankerson introduced him
to Aaliyah.
to Aaliyah.
Yes.
Hankerson thought that I think he messing with her.
No, Smith did.
Smith did.
Not Hankerson. Smith.
Hankerson didn't never object to say nothing to him. He never confronted.
I don't know. See, I think I remember reading some about Hankerson in these transcripts. It's been so much.
So Smith was the one going getting the girls.
Yeah, Smith was basically complicit in so much shit that he should be in jail too.
I think what happened, in my opinion, on that, if that's the case, they had already got Smith.
What you mean?
The feds. They had already got him and had him working.
Oh yeah. So
he got immunity. Ain't no way you can't get immunity.
Do you mean like during the time?
Yeah.
No, so what I think happened is during the time
whatever time they decided to start, when they started investigating.
So
they
yeah, I
just
think
called
you're
him,
right about
they
that.
called him coming out the mall or something like, "Hey, bro,"
because listen,
because that's your Cody.
Yeah, during his testimony, they kept having to go back to his previous documented testimony, where he sat in an interrogation room and gave them different information. So he definitely snitched, and they put him on the stand, and he tried to be difficult and change the story. So yeah, you're right about that, 100%.
I don't think it's like selling dope though. I know the perspective C coming from. We're like, well, we caught your partner with 2 bricks, so we got him. So he's talking now. I don't think that's quite how it been. I think public outcry from the surviving
record deals, failed
the
promises.
surviving R. Kelly
From the failed promises.
show You think so?
It go back to, man, where's the responsibility of the parent? Y'all did not know y'all daughters was just out of town like that?
But see, it was public outcry. Surviving R. Kelly introduced that to the public. So I think that's when everything kind of got to where we gonna get R. Kelly. Yeah, because then the Gil King interview happens after that. And
they put the witch hunt on.
Yeah, it's a fact. Survivor R. Kelly definitely sparks.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
I think if that doesn't happen, R. Kelly's still out here on Versus.
Right.
But I'm gonna say this though: the feds, the way they are, is if they miss you the first time, they gonna come back and smack your ass double hard.
The jaywalking charge gonna give you 20 years.
That's why he got 30 years.
Yeah.
So I believe they was waiting for an opportunity
to
get his ass.
Yeah.
But they just couldn't get the right moment, and then Surviving R. Kelly drops.
Yep.
And that's basically the whole case put right there on the screen.
Right. Yeah.
All the witnesses they need, all the testimony.
We need a surviving Elvis Presley.
Damn right.
Damn right.
Surviving Hugh Hefner.
Damn right.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
But they
Talk about
dead.
it.
Them guys is dead though. They had to get one living, I guess.
But I mean the public humiliation.
It's probably a surviving Usher. It's probably a surviving Chris Brown. Think
surviving Diddy.
about this, man. These
Especially the surviving Diddy.
Allegedly, and for entertainment purposes only.
allegedly, I was on tour with 50 Cent.
No, you was.
I was, okay. So during these shows, you would meet girls. I'm not sure if I allegedly asked for any ID for any situation that I possibly participated in. So all I'm saying is parents really need to, as an artist, as a former artist, parents really need to be way more responsible for what they are allowing
your
their
kids
children.
off at a concert.
Yeah.
All in their kids' business.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be. I mean, because like in these days and time, like right now, anything for fame, it ain't nothing that these young girls they won't do. They won't do.
This
nothing.
is the thing, though. Like, in this case, I don't even think it's a case of the parents not knowing. I think it's a case of the parents helping. Because wait till you hear everything that had to happen in order for this ceremony to take place.
Ain't
no way in hell.
Let's go to the ceremony.
Just as some background knowledge, though, Michael Halton, which was Aaliyah's father, died from cancer in 2012. Possibly he was battling cancer the entire time, which would probably give some incentive for him to ship his daughter off to try to get a little bit of bread, because at this point, Aaliyah's mom is still worth $10 million. So financially, I guess a lot of that money went to the parents to deal with. So not saying money was possibly a factor, but probably money was a factor. Allegedly. How do we say it to make sure that we don't get in trouble? These are alleged facts. These are not
alleged facts.
Yeah, these are just the opinions of the show, or these are my opinions as DJ.
These are the opinions of the show. Now that headquarters music market.
Amen.
But yeah, so I'm gonna continue to read, right? So that way we can get to everything that y'all. And ain't no way all of this is going down, all this running around going down, all this stuff going down that we about to hear, and her parents didn't know. Ain't no way.
Ain't no way.
So here we go. You saw Jane's text messages, and I want to talk more about. Okay, I already read that part. Here we go. My friend gonna let her keep the baby. You saw all the photographs. Were showing that Jane was petrified of having an abortion. That's then what's significant is if you look at the last red box on the bottom, she wrote, "Now, if I was 18, remember at this time she was 17. She says, if I was 18, he wouldn't care about the baby. Speaking, I'm 17. Let's turn back to the day in August of 1994. So we're going back 2 decades. During his testimony, Demetrius Smith also told you what happened when they arrived at Chicago. So remember, they flew from the venue in the South, which was in Orlando, Florida, up to Chicago on a last-minute basis, and they started talking about how they could carry out the defendant's plan to marry Aaliyah. During one of those conversations, the defendant made clear to Smith that he expected to help him get it done. And Smith told you that's when he raised questions about the plan. Get a little feedback. That's my buddy. Smith tried to convince the defendant that he couldn't marry Aaliyah because she was too young, and suggested to the defendant that they should reach out to Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson, was also then the defendant's manager, but the defendant wasn't having it. He made it clear to Smith that he needed to pick a side, and that's in the transcript at 710. So now this is R. Kelly telling his tour manager, hey, motherfucker, whose side you on?
Right.
Pick a side.
That's crazy.
You either gonna help me do this shit, or you gonna get the fuck on. His testimony about the defendant's words, they ring true because you heard the same thing from another one of the defendant's former employees, Cheryl Mack. More than 15 years later, when the defendant faced another legal predicament involving another young female, that one was Precious. She told you that he told her that she needed to pick a side. So his words are consistent. We talking about over the course of decades, he telling people to pick sides, right? Like he, you know, in the mafia or some shit. You also heard the defendant in his own words on Government Exhibit 485 tell Kyla, the one who he believes stole the watch, that she needed to be on his team or else. And he said, if you bullshit me now, then I'm going to look at you like you're not on my team at all. You know what he meant. It was a threat, just as it was to Demetrius, just as it was to Cheryl Mack. So Smith told you that he did pick a side, the defendant. He told you why. He wanted to stay in that inner circle. He wanted to be in the enterprise. He didn't want to get pushed out the loop. So he worked with the defendant to carry out his plan. But to do it, as Smith told you, they were going to need some fraudulent IDs for Aaliyah because she was under the age of 18. And you know this is true because you heard from Carolyn Harris. She was a supervisor who testified at the beginning of the trial from the clerk's office in Cook County, Illinois, and she told you that 15-year-olds cannot legally get married, not now, not in 1994. The defendant knew Aaliyah's age, as we've already seen, so the defendant turned to the inner circle for a solution. Demetrius told you that he suggested to the defendant and others who were there that day that they could get an ID from the public aid office. He could get an ID for Aaliyah, and he paid one of the employees some money. That's the bribe. He also had a conversation with Darrell McDavid, the defendant's longtime business manager and accountant, about where and how they could get that ID. Again, as you recall, Smith did not want to testify against the man he described as a brother, but he told you that the defendant was there for that conversation, and that's in the transcript at 744. So Darrell McDavid, the defendant's business manager and accountant, gave Demetrius $500 in cash to execute the bribe. You know that the $500 was the defendant's money, came from his account. And all this was done for the defendant's benefit, for his protection, to keep him out of jail. So Demetrius Smith, the defendant, and Aaliyah then drove to one of the local benefits offices in Cook County in Illinois, where Smith offered an employee $500, money he told you that he got from McDavid. He offered that money to have that official create a fraudulent ID for the 15-year-old Aaliyah, and he wanted the ID to suggest that Aaliyah was in fact 18 years old. Now, the judge will instruct you, I believe, that it doesn't matter whether the defendant was the one who handed over the cash to the public employee who created that fraudulent ID, and it makes no difference that it was Smith that was the one who actually passed over the bribe payment. As you will see from the judge's instructions, the defendant doesn't even need to be present when this happens, but he was close by. Smith told you that the defendant stayed in the car outside waiting for the deed to be done, excuse me, while Smith was inside paying the bribe, and then Aaliyah went on to have her photograph taken so that it could be on that fraudulent ID. So that was step number one. Wow. Step number one, go get a fake ID from basically like the welfare office.
She was pregnant, right?
Yep. Okay. So the whole purpose for getting this ID is so that they can get an abortion. So he can make her have an abortion.
So mom and daddy didn't know.
You cannot convince me that they didn't know. You cannot convince me that they did not know all this is going on, because it gets worse. This is just step one of his plan.
And also, they denied the marriage and had it annulled in '95.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, which means they probably signed what is it called?
Prenup.
No, like when you can't speak about a situation.
NDA.
Oh yeah,
probably
NDA.
signed an NDA. I'm thinking allegedly. This is not factual.
You said probably.
Probably, but because in '95 they had the marriage annulled, even though they said that it never happened, I believe they signed an NDA about it.
Right. So hold on. Man.
How about before you start that? How about we take a pause for the calls? We're at the 1 hour mark. How about you go back to the sponsor for a second?
Okay. All right. So once again, man, I want to send a shout out to Alliance Hemp Company, which is our sponsor for the podcast, man. They definitely a dope company, man. They've been involved with the Old Main podcast from the very start. You know, they was the first company to reach out to us, to believe in us, and to give us a shot to market their product. So shout out to them. Once again, I can give you a first-hand account of how good this product is. Not only did it mess me up, bro, you couldn't, it tastes like candy.
Yeah.
I can see if you don't know what's in it,
Yeah.
probably gonna get blitzed out of your mind because it does. You can't taste the THC in it, right?
Yeah.
You can't taste the THC in it. But the good thing about it is you can't overdose.
Right.
You can't overdose on THC.
Yeah.
You can't overdose on it. So you might you might get
2 days.
yeah, you might visit some different worlds.
And shouts out to the headquarters.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a fact.
Yes, sir, Steve.
Headquarters Music Management Group. Shout out to them too. That's by the way who the podcast deal is being distributed through. Headquarters Music Management Group. So
Yes,
You
sir.
are a content creator.
Hey.
yeah,
You got
holla
a
at us.
good follower.
Yeah.
I mean, drop an inquiry at Headquarters Music Marketing Group at gmail.com, or hit the back channel, or hit the something, or
Yeah.
Google, or Instagram.
Yeah. IG's there.
IG is there, yeah. Twitter there,
Yeah.
Gmail,
Yeah.
and
Peter, C there.
we there. But yeah, let's get the old man, Stan.
Oh man, y'all know what's going on. We the biggest.
Hey.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get back to it because now we about to get into a little bit more detail about what happens after they obtain the fraudulent ID, leading up to the actual ceremony. All right. So the defendant, though, was the one who needed to marry Aaliyah, and he told Smith to pick a side. The defendant was there when the plan was discussed, and Aaliyah was in the car when they drove to the public aid office where Smith paid the bribe. Defendant agreed that the bribe should be carried out and that the cash used to pay it was from the defendant's coffers handed over to Smith by business manager and accountant McDavid. In those circumstances, the defendant was just as guilty of bribery under the law as Smith was. Just because you have one of your henchmen do your dirty work doesn't mean you're any less responsible. By the way, you know that affecting payoffs, bribes, and part of the defendant's tried and true MO. So they're saying that's a part of what he do. I talked about this earlier, but you've heard that the defendant resorted to pay off to stay out of legal trouble. You saw those settlement agreements in evidence. He did that with Kate, Precious, and Geronda. Also, bro, speaking on that, I was in a room on Clubhouse the other day, and I heard a guy talking about that lawyer in Chicago who was bringing all the girls into the office to get them to, basically speak out against R. Kelly, saying that he did something to me too. He did something to me too, basically like the Me Too movement before Me Too.
Yeah.
But actually, they were misinformed because that prosecutor was actually supporting R. Kelly. What she was doing was bringing those girls in, giving them a cash settlement so they could sign an NDA to make the problem go away. Wow. She was actually working for R. Kelly.
Wow.
So yeah, on the outside looking in, it looked like she was trying to get him in trouble, but actually she was working with him. Because there's so many people out there who signed the NDA who haven't spoken about it. A few, like 4 or 5 of the women have broken the NDA, and they face legal trouble for doing so.
Yeah.
Or they just like, fuck it, I'm gonna take my chances.
Wow.
But there's a lot of other women out there who went down to that office, probably received $50,000, $25,000, $100,000.
Some folks getting paid twice.
Yeah, it's depending on the severity of it, of what they alleged, and they got paid and signed the NDA and basically said that they would never discuss it again.
Dang.
Yep. So yeah, that's definitely a part of his MO. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you also know the public employee who was defended in Smith bribed. Smith told you that he went into that local benefits office and paid someone who worked there to pay somebody who worked there the cash. And he told you that he previously applied for and received public benefits, so he was familiar with the process and thought that he can get an ID from someone who worked there, and so that's what he did. Now, you also know that Demetrius Smith carried out the bribe. He told you about it in August of 1994, not just because he told you, but because the certified official documents corroborate this. They back up his testimony. You saw the application for the marriage license showing that the defendant, and it's shown on the screen right now, so they put it up, and it shows that defendant presented his driver's license and that Aaliyah Halton presented an Illinois Department of Public Aid card. You can see it will pop up in a moment, but you can see that at the top where it says ID bribe B for bribe, and you can see the IDPA, Illinois Department of Public Aid, and then below that is the ID for G, the groom, the defendant, and that was the Illinois driver's license. So how else do you know? And by the way, the IDPA, the ones that's listed there, that's the card that was secured by the $500 bribe. That was the identification document that Aaliyah ultimately was able to use to get this fraudulent marriage license. Now, how else do you know that it was a bribe? How else do you know that it was a bribe that secured the fraudulent ID for Aaliyah? Well, Mr. Rosario, he explained to you in response to government subpoena, both the Illinois Department of Human Services and the Department of Health and Family Services, and those two groups used to make up the Illinois Department of Public Aid. They searched for the records of Aaliyah Halton, and there was no records found because there was no legitimate ID provided to Aaliyah. It was fake, and it was secured by a bribe. So even when they went to go try to find this, this ID, which they knew existed because they had a copy of it,
Right.
it was no record of it in the system. So that's how they also proved that it was a bribe. So this is them proving racketeering.
Yeah.
You can see that as well as in the government exhibit 904 and 905, which are their responses. They're not shown on your screen, but those are the responses from those two departments saying that no record was found for Aaliyah Halton, and there are also no records found for that particular ID that is shown on government exhibit 803A. So that means that based on Mr. Rosario's testimony regarding legitimate channels that would need to happen for Aaliyah to get the ID card, filling out an application, doing an interview, having an eligibility assessment, he told you that he would take about 30 days in 1994. That didn't, and frankly, it couldn't have happened. So you know the way that Smith and the defendant got their hands on that fake ID for Aaliyah was by using illegal channels, and paying a bribe. So that what they saying there is, so even if they did do it right, like if they did go through the proper procedure to get this fake ID, it would have taken at least 30 days. So they got three different ways that they proved that it's a fake ID. Number one, by the ID existing itself. I mean, that it was a bribe. By ID existing itself. Number two, the fact that there's no evidence of the thing existing, like they can't find it in the system nowhere.
Right.
And number three, it took less than the required amount of days, 30 days. So somebody did some crooked somewhere to get this
Somebody
ID
just
to you.
printed one.
Right, basically.
For the 500.
For the 500. Smith also testified that the defendant and his inner circle obtained another ID for Aaliyah to use to get a marriage license. And Smith testified that one of their friends, Keith Williams, helped to arrange Aaliyah to get that fake ID, to get an employee ID from some sort of shipping company. And Smith thought that it may have been FedEx. But he wasn't positive, but he did use a shipping company. Keith Williams actually told you, he testified in his trial as well, he told you that he worked at FedEx prior to August of 1994. If you look at the marriage application in the government exhibit 803A, you can see that Aaliyah's occupation is listed as messenger, sir, a messaging service like FedEx, UPS, a shipping company. Now, Carolyn Harris, the supervisor at Cook County Clerk's office, told you that the marriage application, the one shown in 803, is not returned to the applicants, that the bride and the groom, and it's not otherwise available to the members of the public. She told you that when a couple applies for a license, they're provided with a copy of the license and not the application. In the application shown in 803A, where the nomenclature that I discussed, where it says IDPA and ILDL for the bride and the groom, it's in the application itself where the nomenclature is included, and other than the bride and groom, here the defendant or Aaliyah, a member of the public, just can't get a copy of this application. But Demetrius Smith knew the facts that were on the application because he was there, he participated in the scheme.
All right. Let's go to the marriage.
So this is basically, okay, this is understanding how they even got to that point. right? I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot of testimony here.
That's good. Okay, let's go ahead.
COCD kicking in. He like,
It's a
I
lot.
need a blunt. What is that?
But
Drink.
basically,
We have Patron on deck. Would you like a shot of Patron?
I'm hungry.
Yeah, okay, he gonna get real drunk if you want.
basically what they doing is just painting to you how the marriage even happened. You know what I mean? Which they had to do in
Improving
court.
the racketeering.
Yeah, proving the racketeering. That's the most important part.
I'm lost. It just sounds like just everybody got in cahoots.
It's,
And
Well, think about it, man. Like, okay, so if
There's basically 4 main characters in in everything I'm reading.
I got lost.
think about
You
every-
in and out the room too.
Yeah. Think about every major artist in every major city and the connections that they have to that city. I feel like Yo Gotti can get anything done in Memphis that he would possibly want to get done.
Exactly.
So R. Kelly in Chicago could possibly get anything he wanted to get done in Chicago, get it done. Like, cause who wouldn't help him at the time? You done dropped Step in the Name of Love.
Was Step out then? Yeah.
Step was out then.
Step went out.
Step was out.
Step in the Name of Love was not out when he married Aaliyah.
You're right. Okay, correct.
Okay.
My bad.
One
He had other big hits though. Shit, he had a bunch of.
Was 12 play out?
Yeah, 12 Play was
12
definitely
Play
out.
Yeah, bro, it's over.
That whole album.
Yeah, it's
It's on the Diamond
Quadruple
album.
platinum.
Yeah, Diamond or something.
Yeah.
12 Play was definitely out, and then Aaliyah had some hits at the time too.
Was AJ's number was out there?
That was the AJ number. The number album it had just
But
dropped.
like I'm tripping on like the bravery that he had. That like okay to pull this whole thing off. You know, cause like
It was
well,
1,000 other grown women. That's my problem.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm tripping on the fact that like okay,
Fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean like the one in the video, yeah, gun thick. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm tripping on the fact.
God at that time, you know, and somebody,
said what?
he felt like a god at that time.
Yeah, I mean,
He was
like,
on top of the
like
world.
to be that cocky though, to go back and do that. Then, I mean, like, her uncle was right there. I mean, and all that. I mean, so like, you got a whole city that know, man, I just went to school with an old girl. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
So I know, man. Come on, she ain't no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, but
And I think that speaks to the culture of certain cities too. Like R. Kelly comes from
I said
Chicago.
entertainment.
Entertainment,
The
yes,
culture of entertainment.
but Chicago is a big sex trafficking city. Pimping, a whole lot of pimping happened in
whole lot of
Chicago.
pimping.
We call it sex trafficking now, but
No, it's
it was
pimping.
it was pimping and hoeing back
pimping and hoeing.
before it was sex trafficking. So you got a city that is
Some of the
synonymous.
best ones that came out of that.
Yeah. So
But they did documentary films out of
Yeah,
the
so-
pimps up, hoes down, and
So you got a city that's synonymous with sex trafficking, underage girls, and stuff like that. So I'm not giving R. Kelly any passes, but I'm saying the culture of his city is
I'm
kind
gonna
of
say the
synonymous with that.
entertainment- The city too, but also the entertainment business. 'Cause like he got caught.
Right.
Who all of them didn't get caught?
Or who get passes? Like you got to think Elvis was what was his wife's name?
What was it? Priscilla.
Priscilla was underage when they got married. And everybody knew it, and everybody know it now.
What was
This
that?
the
What was that
thing.
weird old white dude, old dude? He had the girl that was his stepdaughter, and he ended up marrying her.
That's,
Yoko Ono was the girl. I can't remember his name though.
But what you call oh boy that make the Teslas? What's his
Elon
name?
Musk.
Yeah, his granddaddy married his stepdaughter. Yeah, this was, you know, but see, this the thing about I get it, right? When we talk about Elvis, and I anybody tell you that know me, I can't stand Elvis.
Drop the mic.
Yeah, he married his stepdaughter, but
crazy.
had a baby with her too. Wow. But I get it, right? And I don't like Elvis, but at the time that they was living in back then, it was much more acceptable for a grown man to marry a little girl. In fact, we see it on movies like The Color Purple, where a grown man.
My granddaddy married my grandma, and he was like 19. She was probably like 16. Yeah,
my
like
great-
Hold on. Not your granddad. You bring me the baloney from. Oh God.
Granddaddy met grandma a little early.
Yeah, my
You see what I'm
great
saying?
grandmother got married at 13.
Yeah,
13 years old.
They were doing
To
that.
a grown man. You know what I mean? Because back then, men would give their daughters away.
Right.
This was in
like
18 what?
It's,
No,
it's
this
19, 30s and 40s
yeah.
and 50s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This during Elvis's prime. You know what I mean? During
They was
those
out there in the
times.
I forgot they were in the country.
Yeah. So and that's
a
where
lot of
Elvis is from.
country.
Elvis is from the country.
Right.
So yeah, I you know what I mean? And it's
That nigga
disgusting.
was on Elvis Presley Boulevard. He was on
Yeah, now, when he
was
married
on
Priscilla,
Bellevue when
definitely.
he
Yeah,
you know it wasn't Elvis Presley Boulevard. It was Bellevue.
Yeah, he definitely was.
So he was around the
here.
corner.
Right.
But it was just much more acceptable back then. By 1994, there's all kind of legislation and laws against this shit.
Right.
Right. And to sum up the rest of the paperwork, right, which it's like 6 pages left, so I can sum it up real quick. Basically, at that point, after they go through all these trouble to get these 3 different forms of ID, they go to the Sheraton Hotel that's by the airport. They have a secret ceremony where nobody attends, right? Ain't no big wedding.
Right.
They basically bribe a pastor by the name of Nathan Edmond.
They go to Sunday's offering.
Yeah, they bribed the pastor. Aaliyah and R. Kelly consummate their marriage.
Yeah.
And
Stan, give me an old man one time.
Oh my.
Oh man.
and
What you
he-
think she said when he pulled them pants down, Stan?
Oh my.
And literally the next day, he flies back to Orlando to finish up his tour. So all of this happened over the course of a day. Now here's the even crazier part about it. In order for
All that you read happened within the course of
So
a couple
this
days?
is from the time when
course
it
of a
said
day.
it's a problem with Aaliyah to we married the next day and I'm flying back to
flying
Orlando.
back that night.
That boy. Ooh,
The very next night.
That's
So
powerful.
he made his show in Orlando the very next night.
that's hard.
Now, here's the crazy part about it. In order for a marriage license, after a person gets married, the bride and groom sign.
Yeah.
In order for it to properly take place, it has to be signed 24 hours later, right?
Right.
It's something to do with the paperwork system in Chicago or something. But he had a tour date in Orlando, right?
Yeah.
It's how selfish this shit is. This nigga didn't even wait. He basically paid another bribe to have somebody post-date his signature because he had to be back in Orlando to get that bread. So once again, nothing he did in this situation was for Aaliyah. It was all for himself. Yeah, it was all for himself.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy though.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's the whole situation is bonkers.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he couldn't cancel a show because that would lead to a lawsuit. But the way that was handled and how quick that was handled is record time.
So
ID and everything.
Yep.
So
To sum it up for you, Big C,
he had a lot of people in place that can.
Yeah, they moving like robots.
He just had okay. So basically, to give you the synopsis of everything, he's in Orlando on a show. Gets a call from Aaliyah. Oh, I think I'm pregnant. Well, listen, damn, what I'm gonna do? All right, I think I got a solution. He goes to his tour manager, to Demetrius Smith. Hey, we got to get back to Chicago. We got to get back to Chicago right now.
I ain't told him nothing, just threw him out there.
Aaliyah in trouble.
right
That's
now.
all he said. Aaliyah's in trouble. We got to get back to Chicago.
Right.
He goes on stage to perform. While he's performing, Demetrius Smith working behind the scenes, getting some tickets together so they can get back to Chicago. They get on the plane. It's the first time he tell Demetrius, yo, I think Aaliyah pregnant. They get back to Chicago, and his plan is, all right, listen, I got to marry her so I can make her have an abortion legally. Right? So then he gets back to Chicago, but they got a hurdle. The hurdle is she's 15 years old. She legally can't get married. So he goes to Demetrius and says, listen, I need you to get me an ID, a fake ID for her so I can marry her. Demetrius says, oh, bro, I don't want to be a part of that. And R. Kelly said, what the fuck? You better pick a side.
Right.
You better do, either you with me or you against me.
Right quick.
Right. So then he says, okay, fine. I was on government benefits before here in Chicago. I had to go down to the public aid office. I think I may know somebody down there. I could probably bribe somebody. I think it'll take about $500. So R. Kelly hits up his accountant. Hey, I need you to get Demetrius $500. He gives Demetrius the $500. Demetrius runs down to the public aid office, submits the bribe, runs out to the car, grabs Aaliyah. Aaliyah comes in. They take a picture of her, give her a fake public aid ID. They then leave there, go to a FedEx office where they fake like she's an employee there. She gets another form of ID because they figured that public aid ID wouldn't be enough. Right. Then she gets a third form of ID, and then they go to the Sheraton Hotel, and they do a little small ceremony, probably in a suite or something, with another bribed person, a pastor.
Right.
And then they have a quickie.
Yep.
They have a quickie. Fake some more documents to get the marriage license.
He
to
hit
through.
her?
Oh yeah, he hit her. They had sex that day. In the hotel in the Sheraton before he left, and he was back on the plane headed back to Florida that night.
Did the show.
Made the show.
Made the show.
You gonna make the show. Book the show. I'm gonna make
He's
the
a
show.
dedicated artist. He gonna make the show.
Right.
Whatever he has to do to make the show.
Yeah. So that's basically how it went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what money do for you, right there. You could.
Yeah, that's some cold shit.
That's cold shit.
Now, at that point, of course, she doesn't have the baby. Now this is the part that I didn't get to in the paperwork.
Did they go to Mexico or something? I think I've heard that in the past.
I think I read that in the paperwork too. I don't know if she had an abortion or if she had a miscarriage or something, but there was no baby. No baby came. Okay. And then about a year after that, they ended up getting the marriage annulled because people started finding out about the marriage. In order to protect himself from the marriage, from going to jail over marrying a minor, he got it annulled. An annulment is basically like it never existed, which probably pissed the government off at that point because they like, damn, we couldn't get his ass there either.
Well, the parents did the annulment, according to Google.
That's crazy.
So, again, that's to me that's what gives them culpable responsibility is. I believe, and like I said, this is just my personal opinion, that they signed the NDA, and by them annulling the marriage, and then denied that the marriage happened, but they had it annulled.
Right.
So how do you deny this never happened, but then you are the one who has it annulled? So that to me makes them knowledgeable.
That's true.
At least. So.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I want to be an R. Kelly. Don't be bullshit.
No, you don't.
These are the opinions of Stan G.
But yeah, I mean, of course, if you moving like that and you moving like that with women your age, then yeah, there might be some shit that kind of some folks will look at you and go, man, damn, Stan doing his motherfucking thing.
Right. What's the psyche of a nigga, man? They're just like, okay, like you just said earlier, Black, like all these grown, mature, fine women, and you see just get aroused.
Right.
These babies.
You know what? This is what I think. I don't
Control?
think. No, I think I think that R. Kelly is turned on by a certain type of female, and his type that turns him on is typically not that he seek out young girls, but they're typically young. I think he likes a petite woman, a smaller woman. I think he likes a woman that he can mentally control, because even in the older women that he had on his stable, all of them were petite and all of them were slick slow. Even the older ones, ones that he can control mentally.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go there.
So that's what I think
So
is the case with him.
I think the statement goes, hurt people, right? Mm-hmm. So
That was deep, Black.
R. Kelly's brother has came out and said that they were both raped by their sister.
Yeah, by their older sister. They was molested by their older sister for years.
So I believe
And
How
she's
can you
like
tell Mama?
she's like a holy roly now. Mama was always at work. Now, according to
Mama had to come home.
R. Kelly's younger brother, he said that he caught him telling his older brother that he liked it. So that's why they didn't tell Mama.
The dick ain't got no feelings.
Yeah, so that's what the younger brother said. See, the younger brother got pissed because R. Kelly said that it was him in the tapes.
I would have told Mama. I ain't lying.
R. Kelly accused the younger brother of being the one in the tapes. So the younger brother got pissed and did an interview. It was like,
Oh, he did say that was the one that was,
that
in the
was
tape.
not me.
he said, yeah, that was
pissing on
not me. Yeah.
nobody.
So he then came out and told everybody, basically that they got abused, sexually abused, that R. Kelly liked it. Like he used to tell his brother all the time, like bragging, like, yeah, man, she sat on my face this time. You know what I mean? And the sister now is like a holy roly. She is I mean, front row,
Devout evangelist type.
man, catching the Holy Ghost, singing all the
He's
hymns.
the tambourine.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, she that. And he said it's to the point where he didn't try to talk to her about the abuse, and she, that's the devil. We ain't gonna talk about that.
Satan.
That's the devil. That's
Satan.
That's Satan. Yeah, Satan. Satan.
Oh, Satan.
But yeah, so that's basically like she won't even give them the closure that they need in order to get past that abuse.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that's very true. Hurt people.
Yeah.
Hurt people.
Yeah.
But she rich too though. Yeah, she got some of that money, right?
Yeah. R. Kelly took care of her. Yeah. Took care of her. He gave her a bunch of paper.
Yeah, talk shit about that, though.
Yeah.
So basically, R. Kelly was taught to be an abuser by his sister, and Big C is the one that introduced him to how to get girls at the mall.
I see what y'all do. Y'all troll each other. Y'all too good of friends.
Nah, hold on. I'm gonna denounce Black from headquarters right here live. He gonna lie and sack of shit.
Oh shit!
Nah.
Yeah, I think that's just a crazy situation though, and I mean, who knows what goes through the mind of a person that's had that type of stuff to happen, and then not having the parental guidance to like clear that up. So if it was never told to your mom that your sister was abusing you, and at some point you figured that this is okay, this is cool, and I'm gonna project this now.
But you know what makes me say that he knew that it wasn't okay and it wasn't cool?
What's that?
It's the fact that he tried to hide it.
Oh yeah,
Because you knew it was wrong. You hiding it because
well,
you knew it was wrong.
who did he probably learn that from? Who probably said to him, "Hey,
Sister.
you better not tell mama."
Sister probably told me. Quite sure.
Of course.
A fact. Yep.
Yeah.
You know when you doing something wrong when you young, you feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the energy. You know what I'm talking about?
She knew. I mean,
Good
she
word,
definitely
energy.
knew.
Yeah.
Energy Gang Global, man.
I mean, like, okay. I mean, when I was a kid, I ain't got no confession.
Oh
man.
shit! I
No,
started
See,
looking.
I sat back.
I was like,
Ain't nobody tampered with me.
I'm like,
here we go.
Ain't nobody tampered with me.
what hurt person hurt you, big? I'm like, oh shit.
Tell me about how you got this shit.
We need to pull a couch in this motherfucker, lay him down.
We need an evangelist. We need a.
I have to lay hands on big.
We gotta
No
cast.
hard, baby. No hard.
We got
no
cast,
hard, bro.
we got cast Satan.
But I remember I was in the fourth grade. I was in the fourth grade.
Okay.
And my sister friend, she was in the seventh grade, I think, 7th or 8th grade. So, and you know, you in the hood, we stay in some apartments. So the apartment looked like the Carter. You know what I'm saying? New Jack City. You know, there's big square blocks. And so back then, you know, nigga was trying to hit something. You know what I'm saying? I'm strong now, but that man strong. You know, when I'm 30 minutes hard on, mama said, come bring me some water. I can't right there. That man ain't moving.
Gotta pull it up and tighten the bed up around.
Man, who you gotta fast the belt, head up, sit straight up like that.
I got a full throttle in the 3rd grade one time.
So,
First time in front of the whole
Go to the
class.
chalkboard. Yeah, man, I go to the chalkboard, man, with the Woodrow out. Yeah.
In front of them bricks is sticking out.
I'm saying nigga trying to hit the desk. Like this.
Woodrow.
So yeah. All right, so and so the girl stayed downstairs, right? So I go, I can, you know, back then nigga playing catch a girl, get a girl, but we wasn't getting her, we just hunching, fucking up denim jeans.
Right.
That's all we were doing.
Yeah.
All right. So I go down there, right? And I don't know how I ended up getting in the house or whatever. So this is my first time seeing a hairy pussy, right?
Oh, man.
I think. It's one of the most beautiful things that you can ever see.
I don't know how I got in the house to hairy pussy. But please continue.
Like I just got in the house and then some hairy
Pussy was out.
He was like that in the floor. All right.
Found my way in and found
All right.
the pussy.
Game on.
I don't know what it was. She just told me come here or so. I don't know what it was. Anyway, we ended up going back in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And so the girl laid on the, I don't know if she let me pull her pants down or But they came, they was
Snatched
down.
them draws.
I just remember seeing like, oh my God, is it finna go in? So the whole time, like, hard, like the Jaws music.
Boy, y'all are
So-
crazy. Black.
So the whole time, right? So I'm like, oh my, it's finna happen. Like it's finna real life go down.
Yeah.
And she said, "You a little boy, what you doing with a thing like that? Your thing big." You know what I'm saying?
Big C, respectfully.
Yeah, respectfully, man.
We don't want to hear about the size of your penis.
Respectfully, I earned Big C.
Like Woodrow.
We don't want to know
Yeah,
how
Woodrow
tall
out there.
Woodrow is.
Man, Woodrow out here in the
Man,
business,
fuck Woodrow.
Stan G, can I get an old man, please?
So, all right, so I don't know.
Boy,
I don't-
it's bad here.
So she would not let me go all the way through with it, right? So, but I laid it on top of it though. I'm hunching and I just like, man, my thing was hurting out the way because them hair just wasn't soft.
Lord
You know what I'm saying? So, but that wasn't abuse because both of us was minors.
True.
I think everybody was hunching back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, no, I mean, I didn't get tampered with or nothing like that.
You did the tampering.
Yeah, you tried to
Yeah.
tamper.
You did the tampering.
I
You
tried to tamper
fell
and
into some
tell
Harry
someone.
Coochie.
Broke out Woodrow on a hole.
Woodrow. Hey, that's hilarious,
I'm
man.
gonna call my shit Woodrow from now
Look at
on.
my-
This is a new.
Woodrow 2.0 or something. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, so what we gonna do, man? We didn't talk in detail about this R. Kelly trial, and bro, man, I hope y'all got a better picture of what's going on.
Big Memphis, thanks for them facts too, bro.
Oh yeah,
That's-
bro,
that's dope.
it is insane to me. So, bro, I want to give a little closing thoughts on the case. What we think gonna happen moving forward, and then we can just go ahead and close out the Old Man podcast. So I'm gonna jump in first. Once again, just to bring y'all up to date, he was sentenced to 30 years already. 30 years already for the trial in New York for racketeering and other sex crimes. The more serious charges are what he's about to face in Chicago.
Wow.
So they could either run his sentence consecutively or concurrently, meaning here you're going to do this 30 years first, and after those 30 years are done, then you're going to do this other 50 that we about to give you. Or they can say, okay, we're going to give you 50 here and 30 here, and we're going to run those sentences on top of each other, and then you could just have to serve the longer of the two sentences. I think that's what they'll do. They'll probably do concurrently instead of consecutively. But he do face more serious charges in Chicago. So, I mean, we're looking at potentially the king of R&B never getting out of jail. And that's crazy to me. Now, I did stop listening to his music because I have a daughter, and I just hate to think somebody doing something like that to my child because
Right.
I would definitely be up under the jail.
Yeah.
But I don't knock nobody that do, right? People like Stan G is a musician. He probably gets inspiration from different artists and stuff like that. So I can't be judgmental of somebody that enjoys music.
Stan G, does R. Kelly inspire you?
R. Kelly cold. That's a cold man. Like, far doing music, you know what I'm saying? Like, he cold.
He was a cold man. He pulled that cape off that day.
Yeah. So yeah, man, that's what I think. That's my little final thoughts on this podcast. And I'm gonna throw it to the man here to my left, Big C. Final thoughts about this whole R. Kelly trial situation.
First, I just tell people, man, and like tell parents, if you got kids, man, and they going to these shows and the way social media is nowadays, man, like you need to be there with your kids. Like you need to go back like to the old school. You know, I remember a couple weeks ago, my nephew asked me, could they come over and go swim? I told them they come go swim.
Yeah.
Hey, my friend, they want to come too. I'm like, now y'all barely coming yourself. 'Cause I got to feed y'all.
Yeah.
And they eat like men. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, nah, I don't know your friends.
Right.
You know, your friend's parent, I don't know your friend's parents. Your friend's parents don't know me. So I even went as far as say, I come over and meet your friend's parents. I want to sit down with the parents with it because like I want them to know where they're going to do. Because parents are just throw their kids off on anybody these days because they want some free time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you know, they're going to have to sign an NDA. What's an NDA? Like I tell my niece and nephew, I give them the I said, what happened if your friend and them die at my house? You see what I'm saying? And they swimming, come going swimming. So, of course, I'm not going to be sitting out there with no 12-year-olds by no pool the whole time. I'm going to go out there with and laugh at them and throw the ball at them or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but their responsibility goes on your hand. And so they were like, they didn't think about it. So you got to think about these things. I said, because like these kids might lie and say, hey, that man touched me, or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the responsibility of that has to go in there. And so parents, I remember when I was on the road, man, in every city, you see just at the back of the arena, hundreds of girls.
Right.
And you don't know what age they is. You don't know none of that, but they're trying to get to the artists and stuff like that. They're trying to get to these people, and they'll do anything to get to somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we've even had women to like travel to like, if we gonna be, say for instance, like hypothetically, we in Memphis and we going to Nashville. That's 200 miles. They ain't but a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
They coming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then they'll say, yeah, we go. They off 3 days on Friday. Oh, they going Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Where we going? I mean, you have that kind of action going on out there. But parents got to get back to the state of being parents.
Right.
Adults got to get back to the state of being adults. Even though they might not be your kids or whatever, but you're an adult. You need to tell them, no, you can't do that around me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you got to put people in check. Even if you wrong, man, we say, nah, bro,
Yeah.
bro, you tripping right now. Nah, bro, you can't do that because you finna burn the ranch. You finna burn us down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so the accountability that what people just everybody don't want to be, everybody now, yes, men to get on. You know, I don't, like, dude, if he just took a real stance, he wouldn't have been with Kelly that long. You said, nah, bro, I ain't in that shit, bro.
Right.
Nah, whatever it is, nah,
He had
bro.
an opportunity to get out. That's a
Yeah.
fact.
So you know what I'm saying? But that's just with the power of the dollar, the entertainment people want to be part of. You know what I'm saying? In that. Now, do I think R. Kelly should got much time he got? No. But I think some more people should got some time. Yep.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think some of them parents should have been lined up. You know what I'm saying? Because you child neglect.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How you gonna let your child just, when you talk about the surviving R. Kelly part,
Yeah.
these parents, their kids travel hundreds, thousand miles away at a shot at a record deal where the dude got rumors out here that he messing with girl.
Big C, peep this in the paperwork, right? This is what blew my mind, and I don't want to go all back into it because we got to end the show.
Right.
But in the paperwork, bro, there was one. They called her Jane Doe in the paperwork, but I know which defendant. I mean, not defendant, but I know which person this was in the case. She met R. Kelly at a concert, right? Got his number, and went home, and the mama went in her phone and started texting R. Kelly as if she was her daughter. So this is the mom texting R. Kelly as if she's her daughter, like having sexual conversations with him. This is the mom basically being okay with her teenage child, like to the point where she's doing it herself. This is how culpable some of these people are.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they got off.
That's crazy.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So you absolutely right with your assessment of that, bro. You absolutely right.
Yeah.
Stan, what you think, man? Final thoughts on this situation.
I think they should knock some of his time off and charge some of the parents. And if the parents don't want to get charged, they should knock more time off. You know what I'm talking about? Because you can't just put everything on R. Kelly. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody, it was a lot of grown folks in the situation. You know what I'm talking about? So I feel like they weren't just R. Kelly. So I feel like they should knock some of his time off and charge some of the parents, or you know, make it kind of fair for him to get out one day. You know what I'm saying? Because he was messed up in the head. Everybody that been through something as a child that changed them for the rest of their life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Since I know he had a problem somewhere, like I feel like he should get some of that time knocked off. And
It's ironic you said that about something happened to people as a child. I remember being out in the country in my grandparents' house, and we ate pinto beans for like 17 days straight. And that traumatized me, literally, for real. I didn't start eating pinto beans again till I was grown.
Yeah. My dad don't eat pinto beans. He don't eat no type of beans now because of that same situation.
What happened to me as a kid?
He just
Man, it'd be
ate so
surprised
many.
to think that
Yeah.
traumatized you. You're like,
Yeah.
pinto beans said a nigga, like, no. You know, I just bust out crying.
I can't even say what I was about to say
This
now.
man took such a serious moment and
made him-
twisted it with that shit so well.
Exactly, man.
For real though. Ask your
Exactly.
daddy. Shit. I mean, bro, like literally straight up. I remember, man, one day I just went back in the kitchen and opened the pot, and I was like,
I can't eat not one more bean.
no! I called my mama, come get me. Come get me. Man, that was, bro, y'all
this is
laughing. Like,
crazy.
y'all ain't right. But for real though, bro, that like did something to me.
But
Like for real. But then also like growing up in the hood.
Yeah.
Stuff that you see in the hood at a young age, like I seen my partner get his brain blowed out.
Yeah.
You know, some things you don't need to, at a young age.
Yeah,
you don't need to be
see
seeing.
that. Yeah.
It's just certain things that, and you don't be thinking nothing of it too much then. Or you like something happened, but then like that post traumatic trauma.
And that was gonna be my point. As far as me in and out the show, like black people in general, we've seen so much in our young lives. That we've normalized a lot of stuff that we should actually be seeking some type of mental health evaluations on, counseling on. Like you said, like, I mean, we probably done all seen somebody die or something of that nature. Somebody get shot just by being in certain situations in the hood and situations like that.
That's
like,
a fact.
I remember, like, the crack epidemic. Most of us grew up during that, or I was a participant. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so much that happened in our communities, and so much stuff that we've normalized that we really need to get some evaluations on what we feel like is normal, and really try to seek some counseling in situations. Because again, hurt people. So
going to jail was cool. I thought robbing was cool.
Yeah.
Going to jail was cool.
Yeah.
Being, you know what I'm saying? Because my brother was 10 years older than me. I'm looking at them like, oh, y'all was in jail. So it's an accomplishment to me.
yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
So that's a good point though, as far as like it becoming so normalized for R. Kelly.
yeah.
That you know what I mean.
And people around him weren't astonished. People around him weren't like, oh my God, I can't believe you even thinking about it. People were helping him.
Helping
do that.
him.
The parents of these girls was helping him. do that.
Everybody.
Everybody was like, that's okay.
And that's how normalized it was.
That's a
for him.
problem.
He had no obstacles.
Right.
No
From the
hurdles.
parents or anything. Nobody gave him resistance like, dude, you probably don't need to do that. Nobody was like really like, or if they did give some resistance, he was like, I'll pull the plug on you. So, you know, that's my last thought on it is like, let's stop normalizing some of these situations. Let's really take a look at, you know, some of the situations that go on in our community and like chill on that. Really get some help about that, because that's
Facts.
you create more R. Kellys like that. You know.
That's a fact. Well, on that note, man, I want to give one final shout out to Alliance Hemp Company.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. I want to give a big ass shout out to Headquarters Music Marketing
Yes, sir.
Group. Man, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for tapping in with the Old Man Podcast. And we going to end off with one big, great old man from Stangy himself. Let's get it.
Oh, man.
We out.